Shannon Sharpe just went from the top of the sports media game to completely out of it almost overnight. One day he's negotiating a $100 million media empire. The next, ESPN has cut him loose, Disney has closed its doors, and the headlines are all about a $50 million settlement with an OnlyFans model. And here's the wild part. Katt Williams saw this coming. He sat across from Shannon, looked him dead in the eye, and gave him a warning so direct, it almost sounded like a prophecy. A warning Shannon completely ignored. But once you see the timeline, the warnings, and the decisions that led here, you'll understand why almost nobody is feeling sorry for him right now. When news broke that ESPN was cutting ties with Shannon Sharpe, the timing couldn't have been more brutal. Just days earlier, he had quietly settled a $50 million lawsuit with 19-year-old OnlyFans model Gabriela Zuniga, one that accused him of serious misconduct. Shannon later went public, saying he was at peace with ESPN's decision, but behind the scenes he had begged the network to hold off on announcing it until after his older brother, Sterling Sharpe, was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He didn't want his personal scandal overshadowing what should have been the proudest moment of his brother's life. ESPN, and the Disney machine behind it, didn't flinch. They made the call, ignored his request, and dropped the news anyway. No official statement, no public defense, just silence, leaving Shannon to address it himself on his Nightcap podcast. It was a sharp fall from grace, and it was only the beginning of the unraveling. Because, as it turns out, this wasn't just bad luck. This was a disaster many people, especially Katt Williams, claimed they saw coming. Long before the headlines exploded, Katt Williams sat across from Shannon Sharpe on Club Shay Shay and delivered a warning that was equal parts humor and cold reality. He told Shannon flat out that certain relationships, especially with young white women in the public eye, could end careers faster than anyone expects. Katt even pointed to the Jonathan Majors case as proof of how quickly reputations can be destroyed. His words weren't vague, they were pointed. He said a man could be Kang the Conqueror one weekend and be completely taken down the next. Monique, in her own blunt way, echoed the sentiment. She told Shannon to stop wasting time and get somebody to love before he made the wrong choices. Both of them were essentially giving him a playbook for avoiding exactly the kind of scandal he's in now. But Shannon, he smiled, laughed, and kept moving. What he didn't know was that Katt's comments weren't just a general observation, they were rooted in something much more specific. Something Katt had already noticed about Shannon's personal life and who he was spending time with. According to people close to the situation, Katt Williams' warning wasn't random stand-up comedy. It was targeted. Sources claim Katt already knew Shannon was involved with Gabriela Zuniga months before her lawsuit ever hit the courts. In their view, this wasn't just a risky relationship, it was a setup waiting to happen. Katt had seen enough in Hollywood to recognize the signs. The wrong person in the wrong place with the wrong intentions. And when he said a woman could take you down in 2 weekends, he wasn't speaking hypothetically. Publicly, Katt framed his words as a cautionary tale, using Jonathan Majors as an example. Privately, he was pointing the spotlight right at Shannon. And when the lawsuit dropped, demanding an eye-watering $50 million, many in Katt's circle said it felt like watching a slow-motion car crash they predicted months before. From that moment on, Shannon's choices stopped looking like bad luck and started looking like self-sabotage. And the settlement that followed would make things even worse. When the lawsuit hit, Shannon made a move that on paper might have seemed strategic. He settled. Reports say he agreed to pay a massive sum to Gabriela Zuniga, hoping the deal would make the controversy disappear and maybe even save his job at ESPN. But if that was the plan, it backfired spectacularly. Within 24 hours of the settlement becoming public, Gabriela announced her retirement from OnlyFans. She posted on Instagram, thanking her followers for their support and hinting at new projects ahead. Fans didn't miss the irony, calling Shannon the man who retired her for life. The optics were brutal. Instead of a quiet resolution, the payout became part of the story. Social media framed it as Shannon handing generational wealth to a 19-year-old while losing his own career in the process. And instead of wiping the slate clean, the settlement only fueled the perception that he'd been played from the very start. But the backlash was about to get even uglier, because fans were about to connect this payout to something Shannon had said about his own family. It didn't take long for the internet to dig through Shannon's past comments, and what they found poured gasoline on an already burning fire. Not long ago, Shannon had proudly stated that he wouldn't spend more than $30,000 on his daughter's wedding. In his mind, that was a perfectly reasonable budget, but leaked text messages from the lawsuit painted a very different picture of how he spent money elsewhere. They suggested Gabriella was charging him $25,000 for each private meeting. Fans did the math and the comparisons started flying. To them, it wasn't just about bad judgment, it was about priorities. People accused him of being willing to spend millions on someone he barely knew, while publicly capping his daughter's wedding at a fraction of that. One viral post summed it up. "You paid more for that young white girl who saw you as a lick. How dumb was that?" Suddenly, this wasn't just a scandal about a lawsuit. It became a full-blown conversation about hypocrisy, respect, and whether Shannon valued the right things in his life. The timing of Shannon's downfall couldn't have been worse. Let's not forget, just days before Gabriella's lawsuit dropped, he was reportedly on the verge of signing a massive media deal worth more than $100 million. The agreement, according to reports, would have bundled all of his Shay Shay media properties under one roof. Club Shay Shay, Nightcap with Chad Johnson, Club 520, The Bubba Dub Show, and Humble Baddies. It was the kind of deal that would have transformed him from a sports personality into a full-fledged media mogul. But the lawsuit killed the momentum instantly. The partners walked away, the deal evaporated, and Shannon's ESPN exit slammed the door shut on any future projects with Disney-owned platforms, ABC, Hulu, ESPN, and beyond. In the tight-knit world of big media, a scandal like this isn't just a speed bump, it's a brick wall. Once your name becomes synonymous with a messy public payout, the phone stops ringing. For Shannon, that $100 million dream didn't just disappear, it might never come back. And if you think Katt Williams let that slide without a final word, you'd be mistaken. By the time the dust settled, Katt Williams didn't have to say much. His earlier warning was playing out in real time. The interviews, the jokes, the 2 weekends line. Suddenly, it all felt less like comedy and more like a prophecy fulfilled. From Katt's perspective, Shannon's collapse wasn't an unfortunate twist of fate. It was the inevitable result of ignoring hard-earned wisdom. He had the fame, the money, the network deals, and the influence to build something untouchable. But instead of protecting it, he gambled it all on a relationship that, in Katt's eyes, had red flags from day one. And for the public watching, it was hard to muster sympathy. To them, this wasn't just about bad luck or a media hit job, it was about choices that turned a Hall of Fame career into a cautionary tale almost overnight. Shannon Sharpe's fall from grace didn't happen in slow motion. It was a sudden, violent drop from one of the highest points of his career. In just a matter of weeks, he went from negotiating a $100 million empire to being publicly humiliated and shut out of some of the biggest media platforms in the world. The warnings were there, clear, blunt, and repeated. Katt Williams spelled them out. Monique added her own no-nonsense advice, but instead of taking them to heart, Shannon played the game on his own terms and lost. Now he's not just facing the loss of a career-defining deal, he's dealing with a public image that's been reshaped into something far less flattering. For many, the scandal isn't just about the lawsuit, it's about seeing someone with every advantage in the world throw it away for reasons that could have been avoided. So here's the real question: was Shannon Sharpe the victim of bad luck, a setup, or his own bad decisions? And if he ever gets the chance to rebuild, will he actually learn from this or repeat the same mistakes? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.